I just filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, got rid of about $40,000 in consumer credit debt. The way that I would file for bankruptcy every 7 years, if the economy and state of this country continues to stay the same with absolutely no shame whatsoever.
I was in $30,000 of debt and I spent most of my money on food and alcohol and I had nothing to show for it.
The credit card, the medical bill, file it. File the shit. They're talking about repossessing your car, file the damn bankruptcy.
So many Americans are filing for personal bankruptcy, and it seems to be helping a lot of people out and putting a lot of stress off of their shoulders. But as you'll see in a second, even people that are making a lot of money are going bankrupt due to the state of the economy right now. And guys, I promise each clip just gets crazier and crazier.
Here's how, as a 19-year-old, I racked up over $100,000 in credit card debt and then just got it all forgiven by declaring bankruptcy. So as soon as I started college, I knew I wanted to make wise financial decisions. So I looked into bankruptcy, knew that I could basically rack up as much debt as I want and just get it forgiven by declaring bankruptcy. And I knew that over the next couple of years in college, I'd have a lot of expenses, books and things like that to pay for. So I just bought everything I could see myself wanting in the next couple of years: a nice car, clothes, books, textbooks. I was able to get future syllabi I'll have and just buy those books now. So I basically bought everything I'll need for the next couple of years, school-wise. And also some just, extraneous things like jewelry, some like video game systems, stuff like that. I bought it all when I was 19. Then I declared bankruptcy and it was all forgiven. I'm 23 now. I haven't had any issues crop up, none of this ridiculous, oh, your credit's ruined nonsense. Hasn't affected my life, and I still have all the things that I bought before I declared bankruptcy.
I mean, honestly, I think that's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, because this really is not going to affect him that much, because by the time he wants to buy a house, it's already going to be, around when he's 30 or so.
I filed for bankruptcy, and I wasn't going to share this, but so many folks are struggling right now, and I think it's just important that I be transparent. And so, at $138,526.12 worth of debt. Take away the student loans, I had $93,014.14. If we break that into credit cards and personal loans, $41,789 in credit cards, $29,606 in personal loans, for a grand total of $71,395. The rest of that, I know there's like a $22,000 gap there, car note, a couple of medical bills, sprinkled in there too, but that is the bulk. When I first had to examine these things for the court, it was hard to look at. I felt like a failure. And to be honest, I did fail, right? At 24, I was making a lot of money, but I was spending it just as fast. I was trying to live the fast life. I was trying to be impressive with money. So I was overcompensating for being enough. I didn't feel like I was enough as a person. And so I figured if I have money, whatever. Money is not my strong suit. So I'm gonna learn with you all publicly, put parameters in place to not ever have this happen again. I have a team helping me as well.
So obviously it's never easy to talk about debt and bills and going bankrupt, but I'm glad that this man did, because it probably will help other people out. But as we saw, it seemed like he had a pretty good income, and he even said he did, but he still went bankrupt because of his spending decisions.
What would happen if I maxed out all my credit cards and then I just moved to China? Like, would the UK just have to hold the L? Is it the banking system? Because if nothing actually happens to me, I don't understand why people just don't.
Funny story, they'll wipe it clean in 6 years. You see, when I was a younger, more youthful me, I accrued about 6 racks in credit card debt, and I did not have the funds to pay it. And when I got offered a job to go work out in Korea, I got on the first flight out this because there was no way I was paying anything. And in my mind, I was like, well, if I get out there and I make some money, I can come back and start making payments. Well, I was out there for about 9 years, and I came back, tried to start paying off my debt. Lo and behold, I had no credit card debt. True story.
So obviously that is just insane that he went to a different country, came back, and he had no debt. It was basically like a fresh new credit score, and basically like he was a fresh new person according to the banks.
Keeping in line with the record-breaking bankruptcies in the United States of America, if you did not know, we are at a 15-year high for bankruptcies. At the end of 2025, we had an 11% increase in bankruptcies over 2024. That number is only going to go up. The news today is Saks Fifth Avenue parent company has filed for bankruptcy. They are one of, I think, about 800 companies in the last 11-12 months to file for bankruptcy. Many more companies and people will be filing for bankruptcy, including farmers who have a 60% increase in bankruptcies in 2025 than in 2024. The economy is an extreme crisis.
I think the saddest part of this whole video is when she mentioned the farmers, because we know that it's getting harder for small farmers to make a living nowadays, and And it sucks because, you know, they're sitting on a lot of land that's worth a lot, but they just can't make enough money to sustain the life.
I am 22 years old and I am in $91,300 worth of debt, and I am filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy today. I've had such a bad financial burden the last couple years, so after meeting with an attorney and doing lots of research, I realized that filing bankruptcy really isn't as bad as it's made out to be, and it was truly going to be my best bet. I decided to file Chapter 7, and truthfully, my consumer debt really is not that bad. A lot of people have it a lot worse financially, but for me, $91,000 was just too much. It was uncomfortable, and I just wanted to get a fresh start. I moved to Texas directly after high school, and I made a lot of very irresponsible decisions financially and really dug myself into a big hole of debt. I decided, let's go ahead and file bankruptcy. Let's give myself a clean slate. That way I can stop stressing and I can actually do better. I owe about $51,000 on the vehicle that I have. We did try selling that, trading it in, all that good stuff, but I have way too much negative equity to come out on top. I bought a motorcycle back in 2022. Thought that was a great idea. I owe $5,000 still on that. Same thing. Tried selling it, not able to get what we owe out of it. I do own a camper, and I owe about $13,400 on that. However, I live out of that camper because I can't afford a house. So I am keeping that since I do live in it. I have $2,200 worth of medical bills that I had no idea were in collections. And then I have $12,000 worth of student loans. However, those do not get forgiven with bankruptcy, so I will still continue that payment. And then I have about $7,700 worth of credit card debt, all coming into a grand total of $91,300. So my bankruptcy is only going to cost me about $1,100 because I am tired of carrying this financial burden. Obviously, it sucks that I'm doing this at 22 years old, but I think that this has been such a learning curve for me, and I will never put myself in this position again.
So honestly, judging by this woman's video, it looks like she was very relieved to hear that she is no longer in all that debt. Obviously, she still has the student loan debt, but that's nothing compared to everything else that she had.
I moved from the UK to the US, and I found out that failure, bankruptcy, over here, they're like badges of honor. Bankruptcy in the UK, it's like a stigmatization. It's like really negative. But no, bankruptcy, you know, my granddad once said, there's no shame in failing, but there's great shame in someone who does not try. Granddad, you are spot on.
So honestly, I can see exactly where this man is coming from. I haven't lived in the UK or other countries, but I'm guessing the financial system is very different there. And you know, debt is seen very negatively in other societies and countries.
Hi, I'm Seraphine. I was $65,000 in credit card debt, which included a loan that I used to pay off my credit cards and then got buried deeper. My car loan, and then that does not include my what I owed the IRS. And guess what I did? I filed bankruptcy. Literally filed bankruptcy like the September 14th of this year. Want to know what I got in my email today? My discharge. I don't have to pay any of it back. And I have people that are gonna be like, oh my God, that's so irresponsible, blah, blah, blah. Shut up, rich people do it literally all the time. That's how they stay rich. Sorry, not sorry. I 100% believe that filing bankruptcy has been the best thing that has happened to me. Did you keep your home? Never bought a home, but I'm still in my apartment, yes. Did you get to keep your car? Yeah, my 2021 Kia Forte is right over there. She's right over there. Do I still owe money on it? Yeah, I'm doing voluntary payments on it. Basically, I could have surrendered the car if I wanted to and just like not had to deal with it, but I have to have a car to get to and from work. My car is almost paid off with this. Not almost, it's at like $9,000 still, but my registration's good on it, my insurance good on it. If you're filing bankruptcy, you don't deserve to have nice things. Shut your bitch ass up. Yes, you do. You deserve to have nice things. Obviously, if you can afford that car payment, then you could have afforded to pay off your debts. Wrong, because I literally did all of the math to see how much money I can like put extra towards my credit cards and stuff. It was negative $700. I was surviving off of credit cards. It's gonna be impossible for you to get another credit card. Wrong, I already have one. I literally, they flock towards you. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. My attorney said I should. It's super easy and it's your constitutional right, actually. So anyway, no regrets. Also, if people are like, you're not gonna be able to buy a house, I never was planning on buying a house. I don't wanna buy a house. And I could buy a house in 3 years if I wanted to. But quite frankly, it's cheaper to rent than it is to buy a house.
This is another great example of a bankruptcy which has lifted a lot of weight off of her shoulders. She got to keep her car, she's almost paid it off, and she lives in an apartment and doesn't plan to move into a house anytime soon.
File the bankruptcy. File the Go to your local legal aid and file the goddamn bankruptcy. The credit cards, the medical bills, file it. File the They're talking about repossessing your car, file the damn bankruptcy. They've been doing this shit since the beginning of time. They do it over and over again, multiple times. File a bankruptcy on Monday, get it discharged by Friday, and then by the next week, you can start all over again. Be like a cat, live 9 lives. If you only have student loans, you can't file bankruptcy. But let me tell you something. You know, you used to at one point, back in the day, you could have put your student loans on bankruptcy, or in the bankruptcy proceedings. We started getting degrees. We started going to school. Now you can't do it. Y'all know at one point college was free. We started going to college as high as hell. File the fucking bankruptcy. Stop stressing yourself out. Stop getting up in the middle of the night. You can't sleep. You can't eat. You're worried about these people coming to knock on the door to take your car. Baby, file a bankruptcy. File the shit. Do it. Do it. They've been doing it since the beginning of time. It's us being ashamed. It's us, I don't want to file it. Them bills.
So obviously there is a huge stigma behind filing for bankruptcy and having all these debts, but at the end of the day, if it's going to better your life and you know that you can't pay it all off, then it might be the option to do.
I think something that really surprises people about my situation of being an American living abroad is that I'm living abroad with a lot of debt. Hi, if you're new here, my name's Kara. I'm the digital nomad mom, and me and my family sold everything that we had to travel the world full time, and we're currently living in Greece as digital nomads. And this is my view. One of the things I hear from a lot of people that stops them from wanting to live abroad and travel abroad is that they have a lot of debt. But here's the thing, that once you get abroad, things are a lot more inexpensive. Now that really depends on where you're going to be. More countries are less expensive than others. But for the most part, because the inflation in the United States is so bad and the cost of living has really just gone insane, when you live abroad, you are going to save money. Now, for us, getting out of debt has been really tough. And the reason for that is because my husband used to work a really labor-intensive job. He was a restaurant manager, so he doesn't have any remote work experience. So for us to be able to live this lifestyle, he had to step away from his job and become a stay-at-home dad. So we are now down to one income. But here's the thing, because I've been able to offset the cost of living by living in a place like Greece or places like Albania, for example, where the cost of living is so much lower than the United States, we can afford to live on one income in addition to continue to pay down our debt. So while I don't necessarily spend less because I am still paying off our debt, I'm able to live a more comfortable lifestyle. So we can still go out to eat. We can still have, little things that make us happy that we were having to sacrifice in the States. My husband doesn't have to work because I am still able to make enough for us to be comfortable and also pay down our debt. The worst thing that could possibly happen is that you have to go back to the United States, maybe move in with your parents or a friend and start all over again. Now, I know not everybody has those types of safety nets, but if you do, just think about it. That is truly the worst that could happen. When we first started this journey, we were in about $73,000 worth of debt. Now, a large chunk of that was car loans, so we were able to sell our cars before we left. And at the end of this year, once we get paid out from the rest of our brand sponsorships, we'll have about $41,000 in debt. And that's a pretty good chunk of debt eliminated in about 2 years.
So this isn't a person who filed for bankruptcy, but I wanted to include it just to show that it isn't always the only option. Since her expenses are so low, she can use all that money to pay off her debt and eventually come back into the US if she wants to, completely debt-free.
I'm waiting to go into the chiropractor right now because hello, broken back. Other than that, I am really debating filing for bankruptcy because what the f is this economy, you guys? Why is bankruptcy seen as such a horrible thing to do for yourself? Like, I'd rather file bankruptcy, get rid of all this debt that I've built up since I was like 18 years old and start from scratch. Like, why would I not want to do that? I don't understand. And on top of that, I want to stop living paycheck to paycheck. I literally did the calculations of how much I'm spending on just my bills, not even my partner's bills, on just my bills alone for like credit cards and things like that. It's almost $900.
So I'm guessing at the end there, she meant $900 a month just in debt payments. I'm not sure if that's completely right, but that's what it sounds like. And for the average American who makes less than $50K a year, that's honestly just so insane.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but just file that bankruptcy. Just file. Rich people do it all the time. File bankruptcy. Look, after 2 years, FHA, you can buy a house. After 2 years, VA, you can buy a house. You can get a car probably when you file or immediately after it's discharged. If you were making a lot of money one day or whatever, and you bought too much of a car and it got repoed, now you got $30,000 of debt on your car. You bought a second car, $10,000 car. That I got repoed too. $40,000 in debt. Bro, file bankruptcy. Reset yourself. Stop paying these credit repair companies. They're scamming the shit out of you. Go ahead and just reset your finances. When you file, now here's the critical part. After you file, you need to never ever do it again. Never file again. Never miss a payment again. Utilization low. Don't take out a shit out of inquiries. enter a good financial ecosystem. I don't know who needs to hear this. I'm getting told, just do it. Stop trying to do this, that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You owe them money. You need to pay it. If you can't afford to pay it, set up a payment plan. If that doesn't work, file bankruptcy. You messed up. Cool. Hard times happen. I get that. Don't come at me for that. I understand it. I've been there before. Hey, I can pay you. Let's do a payment plan. Now you're start increasing. Where are we gonna start learning, people?
So I think this man has a great message in that, you know, you should file the bankruptcy, but you should never ever have to do it again if you learn the lesson. I do believe that bankruptcy helps a lot of people get their life back on track, but in the same way, a lot of people probably just keep on filing it over and over again for their whole lives because they know how the system works and how they can just kind of infinitely do it.
The way that I would file for bankruptcy every 7 years, if the economy and state of this country continues to stay the same with absolutely no shame whatsoever. I just filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, got rid of about $40,000 in consumer credit debt that we acquired in the early 2020s due to just changing of our financial situation and inflation. And then we landed really high paying jobs, so we had to pay that all back without being able to file. And I told myself if I was ever laid off again, I would file Chapter 7 and get rid of all of it. I just did that. And you can file every 7 years. And let me tell you, if shit is gonna stay this way, that might be my whole retirement plan, babe. But for real, I do just want to say that in this economy, we do not have enough money to pay off our debts, okay? Always make sure that you have a spending account and a savings account before you are paying off your debt, and especially before you're paying extra payments to your debt. Because what's gonna happen if you don't have enough money in your spending account and you don't have enough money in your savings account, you're gonna go right back to those credit cards and continue the cycle over and over and over again.
It is honestly heartbreaking that people even have to think about this, but unfortunately, it's just the way the economy is nowadays. And I'm sure there is a group of people out there that are just filing for bankruptcy every 7 years. But guys, you will not want to miss this insane last clip.
In case nobody told you this, rich people file for bankruptcy all the time, and poor people are the ones who should be filing it. I was in $30,000 of debt. I have bipolar disorder, and I went through a phase of manic spending where I took out a bunch of loans and a bunch of credit cards, and I spent most of my money on food and alcohol, and I had nothing to show for it. I got served 3 different lawsuits when I moved back home because I could not afford my rent in the city that I was living, so I moved back home, and I was served 3 different lawsuits within a month of each other. I didn't know what to do because the lawsuits were also asking for a lot of money on top of what I owed them already, and I was like, there's no way I can afford to do this. So I filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy. About $1,200 for me to file with the lawyer. $1,200 is better than $30,000. Rich people file for bankruptcy all the time, and it's something that they don't want poor people to know. They don't want us to know that you can file for bankruptcy and get out of debt.
So like I said in the beginning of the video, some of the most common bankruptcies are those from very wealthy individuals. Trump himself has actually filed 4 different bankruptcies for his companies throughout his whole career. So that just goes to show how common it really is. But guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Like and subscribe and comment what you think about this whole situation, and I'll see you in the next one.